Okay, so you are, we've been working together for a few months since October. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And you found me on YouTube, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you were just saying it's been a process, right? But we've made quite a bit of progress. When was the last time you full-fledged binged?
Since the first time we talked, I've never binged again.
Yeah. Well, and it's been hard. It hasn't been easy, especially in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were just saying you were in the car with your daughter.
Oh, so my daughter wanted to go to this burger place, and we went, and we were sitting in this little table, and I let her order, and she orders appetizer, a burger for each of us, and so it's a little table, and it's full of food.
How old is your daughter?
21.
Okay, so she was having a good time.
Yeah. I felt for a moment like a little nervous, all this food, and in the past, I would have, I don't know why, but had made an effort to eat it all, and maybe thinking that on Monday I'm going to just start a diet and fix it. But yesterday, it was like, I let her order all this and whatever, and I ate what I wanted, and then took everything else to go. And all the boxes are there in my refrigerator. I'm probably going to throw everything out later, but I was just like surprised because I would have never done that. I would have tried to like put all that in somehow.
Well, yeah, you would have felt bad. First of all, you would have felt like you were doing something wrong. Am I right?
Yeah, I would have been like, oh, maybe let's share or whatever, or...
Yeah, well, you would have been like, this is not healthy. I shouldn't be eating this. This is fattening. There's tons of calories. This isn't healthy. This is more than we need, right? And then you would have said, well, you know what? Screw it. I'm with my daughter. We're having a good time. Eat it. And then tomorrow, or I won't order like this again. We won't be ordering like this again for a long time, right?
Yeah, and I would have come out of there totally sick, super full, like almost not able to walk.
Yeah, well, and think about before, what would you have used to guide when to stop? So the problem with chronic dieting, and you've dieted for a long time, is that those foods are never okay. There's not even some of it is okay. Processed, it's fried and oils and trans fats, whatever. We could look at all of it and grade it, morally. And so when you go into that environment, because the diet culture and the diet mentality is so black and white, there's very little gray. The way the diet media portrays food is sinful, bad, dangerous. So when you're eating foods that you have been brainwashed and or just influenced to believe is bad for you, or that you shouldn't be eating it, or even if it's you can have it, but you need to regulate the quantity for points or caloric counting, is without any of those controls, you're left enabled to not know when to stop, right? This is why the hunger scale is so valuable, because it gives you an intrinsic guide, no matter what you're choosing to eat, to know when to eat and how much of whatever you want, how much your body actually needs in the presence of eating it. So did you, in that moment, make a conscious effort to relax?
Yeah, I guess. But it's the only explanation to me not eating at all. Because first I would have tried to convince her not to go there. Then I would have ordered something diet from the menu, like a salad or something. And I just went with the whole thing. Let's go to the burger place. place. I ordered a burger. And then I said to myself, I'm just going to, when I saw all this food out, I'm like, it was like the opposite of before.
Yeah, well, like that table of
relax.
abundance, right? Where you're like, there's more here than I can handle. Let's just relax.
Yeah, I don't have to eat it all. Whatever I don't want, I'll take it. I'll eat it tomorrow or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that came. You realize that thought of, oh, I'll just have it tomorrow. The only way for you to have that flexibility with the food is by not judging it. So you didn't.
Yeah.
Right? Because if it was bad food, you would have, you would have eaten way too much, first of all, because of the guilt that you were eating it. So you might as well eat it all because you sinned and you're guilty anyways. So the fact that you gave yourself the lenience to say, oh, I'll just bring it home, that means that it's not bad for you. Like in terms of how you're responding or believe, your beliefs about the food, you didn't judge the food. That's a big deal. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it was a first. It was a first for me. The whole attitude toward the meal was a first because, like I said, I would always try to persuade whomever I'm with not to go to a place that would have only burgers or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't. And did you find that your time with your daughter was different?
Yeah.
You weren't in your head, going, there wasn't that background crazy. It wasn't all or nothing. It should have felt not strained or tense, where you're having to judge the food and judge the people and judge the environment and disconnect from your daughter and judge. And the other side of that isn't the binging process. Whereas when someone who's restricting and moral around food, when they go out into a restaurant where they can't control the environment, if they are not sitting in their self-righteous judgment, shaming everybody around them and disconnecting from humanity, what they're doing is they are negotiating to go ahead and give themselves freedom without the guilt. So they negotiate in their minds. It becomes very obsessive. It's almost like once you are negotiating for that food and you're saying, I don't want to be guilty about it, that's kind of like bulimia, where recall from your past where you would go in that environment and say, you know what, I'm failing anyway, so I might as well fail all the way. And then the desire to get food becomes massive. What else can I eat today? What else can I get in tonight? Because I've already ruined the whole day. So your whole experience at that restaurant would have been ordering more food. Where can I go after this? For those bulimics, they would have then had to have the drama of how am I going to purge this up? If you don't purge, the exercise bulimic's going to say, I'm going to have to exercise either tonight. It's weird. I'm going to have to hide it, or I'm going to have to do it tomorrow for hours and restrict. I mean, your whole entire experience becomes like war zone from both sides, not just getting food, but trying to recover from the shame and the guilt that you negotiated you get rid of. So anyway, that experience had to have felt very peaceful for you.
Yeah, very different. Yes.
How'd you like it?
I loved it.
Yeah, well, how did you like the next day not waking up feeling that you have to fix something? The pressure of now having to fix any damages. There's no damages that were done.
Yeah.
How'd that feel that night didn't carry over?
It was perfect in every sense, and I really enjoyed it. I had like a quarter of my burger, a bite of first, a couple of fries, or I don't know. I mean, I don't.
And you didn't feel restricted or withheld.
It was great.
Yeah, you didn't feel punished, restricted, or withheld because you didn't eat it all. Didn't feel like a diet, did it?
No, not at all.
Yeah, even though you could say I only had a quarter of the cheeseburger. If you were told ahead of time, you're going to order a cheeseburger and you can only have a quarter, how would that have gone?
Oh, no. Before,
would have felt very restrictive.
On the table.
Yeah. Telling you can only eat a quarter of the cheeseburger, whatever would have ended up in you eating far more than that. But if we allow you the natural response to the body, because there's no judgment, because there's no shame, because you're not afraid to gain, that was a big part of the process we've been working on over the last few months. All of a sudden, you're naturally eating in a way that is organically regulated by the brain and the body, not your mind and your beliefs about food, right? Your mind and your beliefs about food cause a ton of problems in your behavior, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Whereas if you just relax and allow the body to guide and navigate without fear, shame, guilt, all of a sudden you're not going nuts, which can be sad, right? I remember when I recovered on the other side of it, it was like, oh, that there was some fun in the euphoric obsessing over getting the food and just planning my binges. There was fun in that, but it came at such a huge cost that it was like, well, if I'm just going to allow my body this natural, regulation, well then dang, I'm not going to get that fun, euphoric, high, crazy, all part of nothing, right? But I don't want it anymore. I don't want the damages, and I don't want to feel sick, and I don't want the shame and I don't want any of it at all. So there's this big balance between so many things that, like the freedom from the shame and the guilt, the freedom from regulating how much you can have, the freedom from, fixing anything, which we've been talking a lot about too, which is part of this requires that you're held responsible if you choose to overeat, that there is nothing that can take that away from you. I said this earlier and I want to repeat it. For years, you were enabled to not have to think about the consequences because the diet industry is taking that from you. They'll fix it. They're giving you a promise that the way that they restrict, which is so easy, right, in their media, will fix any fat gain. And they say it's permanent fix, right? So you've never really had to take the time in a moment of choosing to eat excessively to really think about the consequences, because the diet concept enables you to believe unconsciously there will be no consequences because you'll just use another way to restrict to fix them. So part of this freedom and part of the way and why you have this peace and this relaxation in that environment is because you are no longer going to diet. So you actually are taking on full responsibility, no matter what is in front of you, to really listen to the body and be aware that there are consequences if you choose to overeat, if you don't listen to your body. There are consequences, and you have to live with them. So what we took off was that kind of like veil that kept you from recognizing those consequences. Like you said, I would have walked out in pain, exhausted, inflamed, bloated, uncomfortable, right? But you wouldn't have even acknowledged that because there was some diet that was going to fix it all, take it away from you. Make sense?
Yeah. And something else that you said, I just realized that I don't know who was there or anything. Like the experience was so different that I was just focusing on the conversation with my daughter. I don't even know who was sitting around. Like I'm thinking now back and I don't even know. I just remember her and I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know anything around me. I wasn't like paying attention to it.
Yeah, you were engaged with her and your thoughts, and I'm assuming it was a very a great experience. Something as simple as sitting down and having a burger with your daughter. Felt connected, true, real, less anxiety, less social anxiety. Why would you care who's there, right? You're in front of the person who's important. And your energy. Think of all the energy that you put, that you gave yourself to actually focus in on her and your conversation. That right there, someone who isn't recovered, that's like a fantasy. I just want to relax and enjoy myself. And like, what would that be like? To not have this insane chaos and circus going on in my head around the binging and the euphoria of the binge. Like, that's more important than this conversation. And then the shame and guilt of how I've got to fix it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So having that it's awesome.
Yep. Another thing, and I talked about it with my daughter because we always at this time of the year talk about our New Year's resolution.
Mm-hmm.
First time in my life, losing weight is not on my list.
How's that feel?
So.
How does it feel?
Great.
Well,
great,
and it's yeah. Well, let me add a note to that. It's not because you're thin enough right now, is it?
No.
It's because you are done. You're okay with it. You'd rather be where you're at and have this freedom spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, you know. And is your body really that horrific to where you're willing to suffer psychologically and emotionally, permanently suffer to try to fix it? Gambling with a very, very small success rate. Is it even worth fixing?
No. And the things that we do to fix it just make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, that's the truth. It's like you've been trying to fix your body valiantly, diligently, honestly, intellectually, emotionally. You've dedicated a lot to your body image, your health image, and in the end, it didn't really go anywhere. Except for you ended up gaining and losing and gaining and losing and gaining and losing and gaining and losing. Right? And each time getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it didn't matter how awesome the diet is, right? It doesn't matter how scientifically found it was. It doesn't matter what it looked like on paper. In reality, it doesn't necessarily work in reality. It works on paper. Works in isolation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, are you excited about the holiday season? Christmas, New Year's, what's coming up?
Well, I am excited. I see the progress, but I'm still.
Are you nervous you're going to gain weight?
Working on it. I'm still working on it because I'm not convinced that if I gain a lot of weight, I'll be fine with it. So there's like a little thing in the back of my mind with that.
Okay. Well, what you have to consider is, are you planning on eating excessively?
No.
Okay.
No.
So if you eat to hunger, okay, think of it this way. This is maybe the first Christmas that you're not going to manipulate the amounts of food you're going to be eating to where it's excessive. So if you eat to as best as you can within the range of hunger, and you give yourself the freedom of the foods that you truly want to eat, okay? So think of this as your first round of Christmas. How does it turn out? The way you want to have Christmas go. Go into your integrity. Do you really want to binge at Christmas time? Do you want to eat so much chocolate that you're sick? Do you want to have all the candy to the point where you are nauseous? To where candy is your... Okay, so go into your integrity. How do you want to live with the holidays and the holiday reality of the amount of food that's at your fingertips? Homemade food, homemade cookies, homemade everything. People bring their candies that they've made homemade from their family, that's been in their family for a century. I mean, just go into holiday parties, family parties, get-togethers, cocktail parties, wine tastings.
Yeah, which I basically have one of those like almost every day from here until next here.
Yeah, so this is reality. Am I right or wrong? This is your reality in our culture. So how do you want to live in this? Do you want to isolate yourself from it just so you don't gain?
No, I wish it was like yesterday, where I enjoyed the company. I ate what I wanted. I didn't need to eat, and just was relaxed.
Okay, so if that's how you're going to do the rest of this holiday season, and you end up gaining weight, what should you do about it? What are you going to do next holiday season?
Nothing.
So you have to really think about, like, this is the way I want to live. I'm not doing anything that's harmful.
Yeah.
Really check the integrity of what your goals are here. And if you believe that they're worthy and honorable, then, you know?
Yeah.
This is where you have to look at reality, evaluate your reality, how you want to truly go about it, and then be willing to accept the consequences. Keep in mind, there's nothing that's going to fix any damages that are caused if you give yourself excessive freedom, right? So, let's say you are drinking a little too much wine and you are having a little too much sugar or whatever it is that your body feels like. Should you have to fix it, or can you just let the body naturally ride it out when the environment is different?
Yeah, I shouldn't have to fix it. I won't fix it.
Well, this is because of that. Why hold on to fear? Why hold on to fear? If your body gains, let's just say 20 pounds by doing this natural, organic regulation under this environment, dude, you got serious physiological problems, right? That's how sensitive you are to gain. That's very sensitive to gain. With that said, if you're that sensitive to gain, if you keep on doing what you're doing and you end up 20 pounds heavier, just think about what it would take for you to stay the same weight.
Yeah, exactly.
That means that in order for you to not gain, you're going to have to deprive. And you better be okay with it. Otherwise, you're going to end up binging. You see where there's a balance. There's a balancing act that must go on. You cannot expect and entitle a certain way of being and then judge the outcome. You have to accept the outcome. If you're not willing to accept the outcome, but there's nothing wrong with that either, then you need to look at your reality. Look at your reality. Make adjustments. But don't feel deprived by that, because you're the one who's holding your body to a specific response you're not willing to budge from. Make sense?
Yeah.
So you can say, I'm afraid I'm going to gain. Well, if you're doing what you want to do and it ultimately ends in gain, well, where are you going to make the adjustments? This is why in my mind, I go into my integrity. I'm not over-consuming. I'm not going crazy. I am being cautious, not in a fearful way, but just in I don't want to be sick way.
Yeah. And now that we're talking, I'm kind of realizing that what I don't want is to go back to where I was having to diet. And it's not only because of the restriction of the food, it was like the suffering, basically. So this is all new, and it's been great, and I just don't want it to go away. So
that's understandable. So maybe what you need to focus on is just really understanding why you have this freedom, right? Why you have the freedom, which is, again, why I continue to repeat, you're no longer using a diet to enable behavior, which forces you to be present with your relationship with food. Would you still relate to food the same way if you didn't have something to take away the consequences? So in the moments you used to have impulsive behavior with food, it was only because there were years you never had to think about the consequences, because there was always a diet to fix it. So now that we've removed diets, You have to really look at the moment and how you're relating to food. There's that. There is the removing the shame, guilt, morality, and with how you relate to food. That's the trigger, the is food safe trigger to fight or flight. Remember we talked about the first hierarchy of need with food? That major threats to that are food isn't safe. The other thing is there's not enough. It's going away. There's no more coming. Those are big triggers to that incredibly inflaming response in fight or flight around food. So behavior around food gets changed with that. So getting rid of those triggers. Food is abundant. There's more. You can have more later. It isn't dangerous. It is safe to eat, right? So we've had to really secure your foundation with food and get rid of the dysfunctional codependent relationship you used to have between food, dieting, and body image, right?
Yeah.
This is why the idea that this, recovery is a step, you can just go, we're going to check the boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it requires a variety of things to happen simultaneously, to include the letting go of body image, the idea that you'll never be thinner again, that the illusion of healthiness is an illusion. It doesn't exist, right? That you're left with what you have, which is the reality of the consequences of what you've been doing, right? That, oh my God, I would never have binged had I known I wasn't going to diet. Well, yep, that's kind of how you have to figure it out at some point, is you might have done something harmful to the body only because you thought you would diet to make it better. And now you have to look at the consequence of what that harm did and forgive yourself on top of everything else that we're doing. Would you agree, though, this isn't taking a ton of thought? When we talk, we're thinking, but after our conversations are over, there isn't a whole lot of thought other than being aware when you're hungry, being aware if there is a craving, which is psychological, right?
Right.
Slowing down how you respond, keeping in mind, I'm never going to diet again. This food isn't bad. I can have more later. There's those few things that you add into those moments that you used to be impulsive and not even think about. Now you're being conscious in those moments, and all of a sudden it's easy. It doesn't take self-control. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think
it's natural.
The trick was to stop wanting to lose weight, and then everything else kind of
loosens up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The body image, I believe, is the cause. That's what's threatening food. So if we can loosen up that body image, you're loosening up these issues, and it gives you space to be aware. Yeah. And there's positive response to it. In just that you're relieved. You are relieved of problems. It's just they're gone.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Are there any recommendations you would make to someone who's listening to this, who's trying to do this on their own, trying to figure this out? Someone who is like you listening to the YouTube videos.
My recommendation would be to call you because...
Well, what if they can't?
I was listening to the videos before, but it's the conversation with you one-on-one that, I don't know, I guess you addressed my concerns and the things that I was saying. You made me see what I was doing, and I don't know, I don't know, it made sense all of a sudden that I needed to stop wanting to lose weight, and it did, and it was that was one of our first conversations, and since then, I it's miraculously I dropped it I don't need to be thin. And I wanted to be thin since I'm a teenager, so.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was part of how you were identifying your worth, your value, your social security, your confidence was based on that. There was a lot based on that. How you felt with your family, comparative to your siblings. I mean, part of it is to looking at why the hell you want to lose weight so bad and why it's so damaging if you don't, and understanding it rather than just impulsively running from bad feelings, you know?
Yeah.
So in other words, you would recommend people face their feelings.
I still see same people, and it's like, wow, that's nice, but then I move on.
Right? Doesn't matter. Are you willing to suffer for someone else's opinion? Again, meaning I'm going to lose weight so that they don't think I'm fat. So I'm going to suffer so that they have positive feelings about me. They have positive feelings, not you. You don't get those positive feelings, but they do. Anyway, so all right, thanks for letting me share this.